This is NBC Nightly News with David Brinkley in Washington and John Chancellor in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Good evening from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. President Carter's caravan made its way here today from India, a poor country with millions of people, to this country, huge, sparsely populated, and very rich. Mr. Carter's plane made the 5-hour flight from New Delhi to Riyadh in time to bring him here for some afternoon talks with the Saudi political leadership. Early tomorrow, the president will be off for Egypt and a meeting with Anwar Sadat. Judy Woodruff has the story of Mr. Carter's visit here.
Almost every member of Saudi Arabia's large ruling family was at the airport to greet President Carter. King Khalid's welcome was short. He thanked the president for his efforts to find a peaceful solution in the Middle East. Mr. Carter replied that would be the most important subject they would discuss. At the Royal Guest Palace, their talks began right away. Press Secretary Jody Powell said afterwards the meeting had been a very good one, more so than usual. U.S. officials sounded optimistic tonight that the Saudis, as they put it, may be in the process of moving towards the American position on what to do about the Palestinians. That is, backing off from their previously stated public policy of favoring an independent state. Now it appears the Saudis and other Arabs may be willing to accept the idea of a Palestinian homeland that is linked with Jordan. U.S. officials who are traveling with President Carter suggest that what this trip may accomplish is forging a consensus among the Arab leaders that will have the effect of putting more pressure on the Israelis to make further concessions. There was a reception and dinner for men only at the King's Palace. Afterwards, the president met with Prince Fahd, the king's half-brother, who is the most important Saudi Arabian policymaker. Earlier, U.S. spokesmen had cautioned against expecting anything spectacular out of these meetings or the meeting tomorrow in Egypt. But they claim that substantial progress has been made, and they left the impression that the U.S. is more deeply involved now in finding a solution in the Middle East than it has been at any time since the Sadat Initiative. Judy Woodruff, NBC News, with the president in Riyadh.
There are some things to keep in mind about these simple Saudi tribesmen who have struck it so rich. They have a deep devotion to the Arab nation, and they are profoundly anti-communist. They see communism as a godless radicalism which threatens their religion and their security, which is why they give Egypt $3 billion a year in support of its anti-communist regime. They also see Israel as a Zionist threat to the Arab world, which is why Egyptian efforts at peace with Israel make the Saudis so uneasy. But without at least the silent support of the Saudis, Anwar Sadat couldn't survive economically or politically, which is why President Carter is here talking very politely with these extraordinarily powerful desert chieftains. David?
Now the president will go to Cairo and talk for an hour or so with President Sadat, trying to smooth over what appears to be a misunderstanding of what the president actually said on television about the Palestinians. People in the State Department say they are confident it can be smoothed over. Here's Fred Francis in Cairo.
President Carter's brief stop at this desert airport terminal 500 miles south of Cairo will be all substance. Carter comes here not so much to explain his stated preference for Israel's peace plan, but to listen to an Egyptian counterproposal. When the two presidents meet in this small room, everyone expects Sadat to urge Carter to pressure Israel into making more concessions. The fact that Carter is coming to listen has encouraged Egyptian diplomats. But there is no pageantry for this meeting. There will be no motorcades through the streets of this oasis resort of Aswan, a city that until a few years ago catered to the thousands of Russian troops and technicians based in Egypt. It's ironic that President Carter comes to Aswan to enrich American-Egyptian friendship, because more than 2 decades ago, Aswan was the setting of one of America's most disastrous foreign policy decisions. It's centered around this high dam at Aswan. 2 miles wide, 11 football fields thick at the base. It controls the Nile, irrigates Egypt, and gives power to 40 million people. But it stands as a monument to Russian engineering, because America refused to build it when Egypt began dealing with communist bloc nations. It soured the American-Egyptian friendship for almost 20 years until Anwar Sadat came to power. One reason Carter is meeting with him tomorrow is to make certain that that relationship is not jeopardized again. Fred Francis, NBC News, Aswan, Egypt.
Not long after he got out of bed this morning, Israel's Prime Minister Begin was saying he didn't want to hear anymore about pressure on the United States to put pressure on Israel. He said he never put pressure on the U.S. to put pressure on Egypt, and he said fair is fair. A report from Hillary Brown in Israel.
The first thing the Israeli Prime Minister said after the cabinet meeting this morning was that he didn't want to hear about American pressure on Israel.
With friendship and respect, I would like to say that I never asked the United States government to use pressure on Egypt. And therefore, I may ask President Sadat not to appeal for American pressure on Israel.
Begin said he was sure that Mr. Carter would stand firm in his opposition to an independent Palestinian state when he talks to the Egyptian president.
Because the President of the United States does understand such a Palestinian state would be a mortal danger to Israel, and also would turn in no time into a Soviet base and be a peril to all free nations.
What Begin seems to fear is that the United States will try to get Israel to make its West Bank autonomy plan more flexible, leading to greater independence for the Palestinian Arabs.
From Begin's point of view, his plan for limited self-rule for the West Bank is a once-and-for-all proposal. At the moment, he's resisting any pressure to make it a transitional plan, one that could eventually lead to self-determination for the Palestinians. This could be what's behind his remarks in public today. Hillary Brown, NBC News, at the Prime Minister's office in Jerusalem.
It is said in Washington that some of the difficulties in the Begin-Sadat negotiations have arisen because they are all so public. The principals talking indirectly and then directly to each other by satellite to television in the United States, and then reacting to each other based on what they hear back from U.S. television, often without hearing it all. In the State Department, they think it would work better with a little more privacy.
This morning, our tour includes Greenwich Village.
Hey there. Guess who needed Nitol last night? Guess who had trouble falling asleep? Well, that's why there's Nitol. On those occasional nights when you have trouble, Nitol can help make you drowsy so you can fall asleep. Come on, America. Stop yawning. For occasional sleeplessness, remember, Nitol.
Hi, this is Danny Thomas, spotlighting a way for you to become $100,000 richer. It's the colossal Reader's Digest $450,000 sweepstakes. Look for the Reader's Digest sweepstakes letter in your mailbox. Then send that entry back fast, because if your entry is in early, you could get a check for top money, $100,000. Over 42,000 other cash prizes, too. But to win, you've got to enter. And the faster you enter, the more you can win. It's your chance to win $100,000.
Oil of Olay. Listen to what women around the world are saying about this mysterious beauty fluid.
Con Oil of Olay, la mia pelle è riposata e soffice al mattino.
Oil of Olay feels very smooth and very light. It's absorbed into the skin quickly.
Quand j'ai une peau souple, je me sens plus sûre de moi. I think I look older with dry skin. Oil of Olay seems to help me look younger.
Discover the secret of Oil of Olay. It can help you look younger, too.
It's super.
Today, John Carney, a former FBI supervisor, had his first pre-trial hearing. He was indicted for illegal break-ins and wiretaps back in the rough days of the 60s and early 70s, when the FBI was after the Weathermen and other radical groups. Some thousands of present and former FBI agents have made it clear they think Carney is unfairly accused and is, as they say, taking the rap for others. Here's Carl Stern.
Barnett Skolnick, who prosecuted Vice President Agnew and Maryland's Governor Mandel, was brought in specially to get the FBI cases moving. Opposing him was Edward Bennett Williams, financed in part by $250,000 in contributions from FBI agents and friends of the FBI. 13,000 donations have been received. But Williams needed little help in attacking the indictment of former FBI Supervisor John Carney. Federal Judge Kevin Duffy called the charges sloppy, saying he couldn't figure them out and doubted if anyone else could either. With Skolnick looking on, the judge indicated he might soon order most of the charges thrown out, although the Justice Department would still have another 6 months to redesign the case. This was the first public hearing in the case and a bleak opener for Skolnick. Defendant Carney was not in the courtroom.
The judge's action means further delays in bringing Carney to trial. But it also gives the Justice Department a new opportunity to decide whether to go ahead with trials of former FBI men. The Justice Department has just finished a study of alleged financial misconduct in the Bureau, but it plans to handle that later this week in a public report, not criminal trials. Carl Stern, NBC News, New York.
A few years ago, the mortality figures showed that a young man born in Detroit's inner city would, during his lifetime, have more chance of being killed by gunfire than if he were fighting in the Army in Vietnam. Well, some good news. Detroit's crime rate is down substantially. A report from Al Johnson in Detroit.
This was one of the 804 murders in Detroit 3 years ago, the highest number in the city's history. Detroit became known as the murder capital of the country. But Detroit is not like that anymore. In 1977, the murder rate was the lowest in 8 years, and the overall crime rate was down 20% compared to 1976. The people have returned to the city to shop and have fun. Police officials say more jobs and innovations to improve their relations with the community are the two main reasons for the decrease.
We had not only a problem of crime in Detroit, we had the high level of fear in the city. Just all kinds of fear in the city. However, when we overcame that, then we were able to work on the crime problem together.
This used to be a high crime area downtown, but during the past Christmas season, many of the stores stayed open extra hours for the first time in years.
Certainly, there's been sort of a resurgence to downtown. People have had more confidence in walking downtown. They feel safe downtown.
As crime grew, many businesses moved out of the city. Now that the crime rate is going down, new businesses are moving downtown. Al Johnson, NBC News, Detroit.
For those in Dallas wanting to buy $30 tickets to the Super Bowl game, it's already too late. They were sold out quickly to people who waited in line all night, and so the only source now is scalpers, and their prices are rising fast. Bob Dotson in Dallas.
2,000 Cowboy fans camped out 36 hours for a chance to attend the Super Bowl. They settled into a field house where the tickets would be sold and spent the weekend watching other bowl games on television and relieving boredom the best they could. Not everyone who waited was assured a ticket, but they waited anyway. Cowboy President Tex Schramm had said no one would get special favors.
I'm just praying. I still have hope.
Former Cowboy cheerleader Cindy Smith stood in line like everyone else. She was one of the last to get a $30 seat.
Outside, some people traded Super Bowl memories for cash. Lots of it.
Ticket scalpers sold their seats at the door for $200 apiece. Scalping is legal in Texas, and the professional scalpers who come all across the country for moments like this say the amateurs are ruining the business.
They kill the Cotton Bowl market. The company's putting their favors in on $200, and all them, they all sent out the Cotton Bowl evening tickets for $1 a piece, too.
But most of the people here say they will keep their tickets and see the Super Bowl. They lost too much sleep to get the seats.
Have you ever waited so long for anything in your life?
Discharge out of the Army.
Bob Dotson, NBC News, Dallas.
The #1 college football team, the University of Texas, wound up among the losers in yesterday's bowl games. And so today, the country's sports writers and college coaches picked a new national champion. The winner in the AP and UPI polling, Notre Dame, for beating Texas. At the end of World War II, the U.S. Army in Hungary seized the crown of St. Stephen, 1,000 years old and a great Hungarian symbol of history and religion. The crown was sent here to Fort Knox to keep the Russians from taking it. Now, President Carter plans to give it back. Americans of Hungarian descent object and don't want the present communist government to have it. They ask the Supreme Court to stop it. Tonight, the court declined to stop it, and so the crown will go back to Budapest.
I'm Joe Namath, and this is the new Double Mac by Hamilton Beach. It makes 2 burgers in 60 seconds and flips its grid to make great sandwiches, too. The lid is also a terrific mini grill. Makes bacon and eggs, pork chops, pancakes, hot dogs, minute steaks, fried potatoes. Just about anything you want to cook, you can cook double quick with the new Double Mac. The best thing from Hamilton Beach since
the Little Mac and the Butter Up Popper.
Only from the Hamilton Beach Scoville world of appliances.
This is the world's most revolutionary telephone switching invention. We call it Super Switcher. It handles 4 times more calls and may save us $1 billion a year. Just imagine that each of these cars is a long-distance call. Super Switcher could handle 5 days' traffic on a busy LA freeway. That ought to prevent traffic jams on your long-distance calls.
Bell System Technology, keeping your phone system the best in the world.
Nancy Robbins has dry skin.
Dry, itchy skin.
Here's the leading bath oil in water.
It's all floating on top.
Now, new Lanacane bath treatment.
It's on top, but it's down where my itchy body is, too.
Lanacane bath treatment has 2 layers. One works in the water while pores are open to deep moisturize, relieve itching fast. Now the other layer clings to skin, seals in moisture long after.
My skin's so soft, not oily and not itchy.
New Lanacane bath treatment.
Mound Bayou, Mississippi was started in the 19th century by freed slaves who wanted a town of their own. And for about 100 years, it has remained a small town, totally or almost totally black. In recent years, it was found to have an infant mortality rate among the highest in the country, until outsiders came in with money and expertise and brought improvement. For what has happened now, here's our segment 3 this evening, and Jane Pauley.
Growing up is a difficult thing to do. In the Mississippi Delta, if you're poor, it is even harder, and you may not grow up at all. Here, more than 30 out of 1,000 black children never make it. This is called an infant mortality rate, and it doesn't include those dead babies who are simply buried, unreported, and forgotten. The infant death rate is caused by a lack of food, a lack of safe water, lack of proper waste disposal, and mostly the lack of money and the knowledge to provide these things. Up until the late 1960s, about the only reaction to infant mortality here was having lots of children, so more would survive, and lots of faith to sustain that survival. In 1965, a team of doctors and environmental health specialists began an experiment in the Mississippi Delta. Under grants from Tufts University and the Office of Economic Opportunity, a medical center was established in Mound Bayou, Mississippi. But this was a different kind of medical center. Dr. Jack Geiger was a founder and the first director.
We came here almost 12 years ago in 1965 and saw people sick indeed and dying, hungry. We came in with health care as people usually think of it. Medical care, doctors, nurses, laboratories, x-ray technicians. But we also came with sanitarians and dug wells so people would have clean water. We built privies, put screens on the windows, and killed the flies and the mosquitoes and the rats and the roaches that were contributing to the problem. And we went after the malnutrition. In the beginning, we wrote prescriptions for food and filled them because the therapy for malnutrition is food, not doctors.
By the 1970s, the Mound Bayou preventive care experiment was paying off. The infant mortality rate was cut in half. Life expectancy was climbing, and the doctors at the Delta Medical Center were spending less time treating preventable illness. Then came the cutbacks in funding. For a lot of reasons, including a lack of money, the preventive program was eliminated.
The funding agencies and the health center board said, we'll pay for traditional medical care. We'll fund doctors and nurses and prescriptions and x-rays and laboratory tests because that's medical care. We'll cut back to ordinary classical medical care. That's terribly costly. It costs about $40 to dig a well and maybe $60 to dig a privy and $300 to treat the illness that comes from not having those things.
Now, machinery from the preventive program sits rusting in a weed-strewn lot. The environmental laboratory is used as a storeroom. And the people of the Mississippi Delta stream into the health center, clogging the waiting rooms and doctor schedules with problems that were prevented a few short years ago. And that's a problem for this baby who was seeing the doctor for infectious diarrhea. And it's a problem for all these babies and their mothers who are waiting to see Dr. Lucas and his associates for mostly preventable illnesses. And it's a problem for the 13 members of the Reynolds family who still can't take a bath without hauling water from a nearby town, and who still don't have a bathroom, indoors or out, and who will soon clog the health center with more preventable illness. The fact that the black infant mortality rate is climbing again in the Mississippi Delta is like an infection that was once being healed and is now allowed to fester. It is itself a preventable illness. Jane Pauley, NBC News.
Tonight on NBC from 8 o'clock until 11 o'clock Eastern Time, a program, Medicine in America, Life, Death, and Dollars. A full exploration of the state of and the cost of health care in this country.
Filling up, drinking down, Delta's the faucet that's known all around. Soaking in, drinking up again, that's when Delta faucets are a very good friend. Delta faucets, the name people trust. For washerless faucets, ask your plumber for us.
Delta faucets, no washers, no washer worries.
Americans have always responded to their presidents.
When, in the course of human events,
a house divided against itself cannot stand.
This generation of Americans,
our first goal is conservation.
Today, the call is to conserve energy, and one of the most important is natural gas. Save gas by turning down your thermostat, insulating, weatherproofing your home. America, conserve gas.
One ounce of Total gives you 100% of the recommended daily allowance of all these important vitamins and iron.
Yeah?
I'll pour this leading natural cereal. Stop me when you think the vitamin value equals Totals.
Okay. No.
Not yet.
Tough.
Nope.
This is unreal.
It takes at least 16 ounces of any of the leading natural cereals to equal the vitamins in 1 ounce of fortified Total.
Wow, what a difference.
That's the total difference.
In London, today's figures show the dollar still falling, worth less and less against foreign currency, mainly because of this country's huge trade deficit. In Washington, the Army released a report on a year-long study of units with many women members, and they found their performance about the same as ever. In New York, a research organization said the price of gasoline in 1977 rose less than almost anything else. In Washington, the Treasury announced a new plan to help American steelmakers and their employees. Foreign steel must be sold here at a minimum price, If it's any lower than that, they will put a tariff on it. It is unknown how many people listen to the lyrics of the top 40 pop songs, but it is not often that enough people listen to them and take them seriously enough to react in anger. But that is what is happening now, as Linda Ellerby explains.
It's 8:43 now, 8:43. Good morning from Jim Elliott. All right, short people of the world, unite, stand tall. Can you believe this song is now top 5 nationally? Well, you love it or you hate it, but you got to have an opinion about Randy Newman's big song.
Short people got no reason. Short people got no reason. Short people got no reason to live.
Short people got no reason to live? Well, really, it's only a song. A hit, you say? A hit banned by radio stations in Detroit, Dallas, Chicago, and Boston, naturally. A lot of people don't like this song, you know. Can't short people take a joke?
Don't want no short people. Don't want no short people. Don't want no...
A lot of people are offended, but then, you know, people can be offended by anything.
Do you find it offensive?
No. But I'm 5'11".
Maybe I'm beginning to understand. Randy Newman wrote it, recorded it, and stands by the words. When you're just under 6 feet, you can do that.
They got no baby leg, stand so low. You got to pick 'em up just to say hello.
But look, these people are having fun, and they're short. It's a short people party for a short people song. Yep, you're right. It's a hit.
Thank you, and good night for all of us at NBC News.
You've won a vacation home like this from Publishers Clearinghouse.
I never expected to win anything like that.
Go right ahead and cry, honey.
I don't believe it.
You may be lucky, too. Watch for this letter from Publishers Clearinghouse. Homes, cars, or cash. Thousands of prizes in our new $500,000 giveaway. No catch. It's just to point out our fine magazine values. Maybe you'll say,
it's the most wonderful thing that's ever happened.
Do you want to lose weight and still have a good, nourishing dinner every day? Now you can, with new PVM. The PVM diet plan limits and controls your calorie intake. And PVM powder with the diet gives you high protein, vitamins, and minerals for balanced nutrition. You mix PVM powder with orange juice for breakfast and with low-fat milk for lunch. And the plan includes menus for full-course meals like this. For dinner, the PVM plan. Start today, and this time you'll really lose weight.
Cost of a hospital stay has risen 1,000% since 1950.
See Medicine in America, Life, Death, and Dollars. NBC Reports devotes an entire night of television to investigating the state of medicine in America. A fascinating 3-hour NBC Reports. Tonight, beginning at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
Ladies and gentlemen, NES General Manager Paul Hembry.
You might not realize it, but really, NES is only a distributor of electric power. We buy electricity from the TVA much like you buy it from us. And yes, we're paying high prices too. Today, no one can afford to waste electricity. Call NES for a free home energy audit. If you're like me, it'll help you count kilowatts and make kilowatts count.
Your mom was very particular selecting seafood.
I'll take that one. And that one.
For Shoney's Seafood Festival, everything selected with the same care, like our Shrimper's Feast. 10 ocean fresh shrimp, hand-breaded fresh daily,